Iran war that has now affected the rest of the world. It's wild to think about the fact that if you go back in time, in the 1950s, you see that Israel and Iran used to be allies at the time until, the 1979 resolution, which was a turning point in the relationship between the United States and Israel and Iran. But what we've seen now is that the Ayatollah, Ali Khamenei, has been killed. He was killed, and his death has been interpreted by different people, in different ways. On the one hand, there are people who are protesting on the streets of Iran and saying that there will be vengeance, they will avenge the death of the Ayatollah. He's the second, he died at the age of 86. The Ayatollah before him as well died at the age of 86. And all of this basically can date back to the fear of Iran being a nuclear superpower. The conflict between the United States, Israel, and Iran has sharply escalated, with Washington and Tel Aviv launching coordinated air and ground operations against Iranian military targets in what officials describe as a significant expansion of hostilities. The strikes aimed at missile sites and strategic facilities have drawn swift retaliation from Tehran, including missile and drone attacks targeting Israeli territory and U.S. positions in the region. Explosions have been reported in major cities, casualties are mounting, and global leaders are calling for restraint and amid fears that the confrontation could spiral into a wider regional war. And then if you check online, you would see that there's the hashtag World War III that has been trending. And many people are starting to think that this is the beginning of World War III. It seems very distant to many, but it's not as distant. I would say that on a personal note, I have family in the Middle East. And when this happened, the first thing I did was reach out to my family and asked, are you okay? Is there any, are there any concerns around where you are? And some of them, family and friends, will tell you that they can literally hear the interception of the bombs. They can hear the interception of the missiles. And these things can literally land anywhere. The Nigerians who have been trapped in the airports, unable to fly as a result of this. And I shudder to think about how much fear they must have in their hearts now. I know loved ones who planned to travel but cannot travel again because of just the fear of no one quite knows how this is going to turn out. We don't know what this is going to evolve into.
It's a major problem, Olive, and the fact that this is continuing or is just heating up, the worry and the concern, apart from spanning across lives, properties, and not forgetting to wake up to reality that a lot of persons will equally be displaced. There's also the fear of the economic instability that this is going to also cause. And that economic instability is one that you cannot help but look into. Nigeria is also going to be impacted one way or the other. So whether you're sitting in your room and you're wondering, well, this really doesn't concern me as far as I care. But let's just give you a quick update that the United States president approved a military strike on Iran.
Operation Epic Fury.
Epic Fury, actually accusing them of being a threat. Now, on the other hand, let's also inform you that tension is rising across the Middle East, including places like the UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the likes. But here in Nigeria, well, let's remind you that oil is actually involved, and that's the most important thing. Iran is known to be one of the world's biggest oil producers, where they have about 1.5 million barrels that they put out per day. The Gulf countries around them, they produce together 18 million barrels per day. But if you look at Iran, Iran has about 1.5 million barrels per day. So if this fight spreads, we already see what is happening in terms of moving the oil from one place to the other. That's another conversation that we would also want to have. But as we look into this, one thing we hope for is that this will end anytime soon. The United Kingdom had kept quiet, by the way, but all of a sudden, they put out on March 1st, rather.
They're not involved. It's almost like...
Please. No, but they're involved now.
Yeah.
The UK Prime Minister had no choice but to put out a video. And that's where I'm talking about Starmer, where he said they're also going to offer U.S. to make use of their bases to as attack sites to Iran. So it was basically like, okay, we're just going to keep quiet. We're not going to say anything. But all of a sudden they said, listen, we can no longer keep quiet. This attack is also affecting our own people who live in these countries, particularly in the United States, and so on. So therefore, we have to take a stand. And that's where I remember the Anglo-American world power, because that's where it comes in, the United States. And of course, don't forget to, you have the United Kingdom. And they form that Anglo-American world power, which is what we're also seeing at this moment in time. But let's just hope that it doesn't spiral.
All right, let's take a look at President Donald Trump making a statement regarding this attack, this Operation Epic Fury, as he calls it.
States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels and international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer.
States of America, President Donald Trump, and his statement regarding the war. There have been reactions online. Let's head to social media to see what Nigerians are saying. And you can also share yours as well. Roshan Rai says, World War I happened because of Austria-Hungary. World War II happened because of Hitler. World War III is happening because pedophiles want to divert attention from the Epstein files. So yeah, there are those who believe that what's happening now is Donald Trump's attempt to divert attention from the Epstein files. If you recall, the most recent people who have been interrogated, Hillary Clinton and her husband, Bill Clinton, have been, they've been taken to the dock as well. And people are asking, why is Hillary Clinton being interviewed for acts, quote unquote, of her husband, Bill Clinton? And why is the person whose name is mentioned multiple times not brought to the stand? And that is the person of the President of the United States of America. These are some of the comments we've seen online. Our next tweet away from here, Putin, 73 years old, Trump, 79 years old, Netanyahu, 76 years old, Narendra Modi, 75 years old, Xi Jinping, 72 years old, now the deceased Khamenei, 86 years old. All of them have lived their lives and witnessed their peaks already. The next generation wants peace and growth, not World War III. The world needs young leaders now. Daniel Rega says, Nigerian government can't save you if World War III happens. Keep that at the back of your mind. The government that can't even save you from common bandits. Wow. And by the time Iran is done with the whole of Middle Eastern states, the Middle Eastern states will come to the realization that the U.S. is truly not their friend, but only seeks to protect and defend the interests of Israel, and according to Agba John Doe. And these are the reactions to the fears of World War III, with many assuming and making speculations that this just might be the beginning of that. Like we can see, the clear indications of this is that the United States is trying to protect its interests, ensure that Iran doesn't become a nuclear superpower, and just by it being in the way that it is or running its affairs in the way that it has, it's endangering or they're trying to nip the potential of Iran being a form of danger to them, not just now, but in the future, doing this in alignment with Israel. But let us know what you think about this on YouTube. Now let's come back here to Nigeria. This one's a very interesting story. Joe has been complaining about power. Many Nigerians have been complaining about power. One other interesting factor, or one other interested person who has complained about power is the Edo State governor. There was a peaceful protest in Benin City, Edo State on Monday as residents demonstrated against persistent blackouts and the billing practices of the Benin Electricity Distribution Company. The protesters converged at Ring Road carrying placards with messages such as "No light, no bill," and condemning what they described as bulk and estimated billing, as well as the high cost of prepaid meters, reportedly selling for between 150,000 naira and 400,000 naira. Now, speaking on behalf of the group, Ogbidi Emmanuel said residents were compelled to act over what he termed oppressive practices and a lack of transparency in the company's metering scheme. In a show of solidarity, Governor Monday Okpebholo joined the demonstrators, assuring them of swift engagement with stakeholders and promising efforts to attract new investors to break the monopoly in power distribution and improve supply. He announced a stakeholders meeting and invited protest leaders to nominate representatives for dialogue. The protest ended peacefully, with security personnel maintaining order, while the distribution company had yet to issue an official response at the time of this report. Let's listen to this video.
There are people that own BEDC. It's not government-owned property. Yes. Even though Edo State, Ondo, Ekiti, Delta, we have stake, but it's just very small. The percentage is very small. So we do not have control over BEDC. Fidelity Bank have larger share on BEDC. They have better stake on BEDC. Now, I don't want to ask who owns Fidelity Bank. Who are the owners of Fidelity Bank? I leave that to you to answer. Tomorrow they will tell you I don't have anything. So I want to let you know that somebody who wants today coming to say it is now start buying granite or buying corn just for people to vote for him. If he enter there with what you are seeing with BEDC, will Edo be safe? Nigeria be safe? No. So I want to let you know that the only way we can fight them is to bring stakeholders into this business of distribution. I want to
empathize with the people of Edo State and the governor of Edo State, who has shown solidarity by joining the people in the protest. Maybe a good way to go about this would be to have a one-on-one conversation with the governor of Abia State and find out what he did to help improve the state of electricity, the state of power in Abia State, so that they can share and compare notes and ensure that things can get better from here. But there have been reactions online. Nigerians have taken to social media, of course, to share their pleasure or displeasure.
Yeah, but I just wanted to add first.
Let's get your thoughts.
Just for clarity's sake, the governor of Edo State met with the protesters over power. The protesters are the people of Edo who have come out to say, "It don't do, we no get light." Olive, this is a long conversation that I want us to really have. This morning, as I speak as well, in my area, the light has been completely epileptic. It's no longer consistent. In as much as we're placed on Band B, later on, the federal government did mention that we're on Band A. As we speak now, there's a statement, there was a release, a press release that came out and said those who were in Band A have now been moved to Band C, those in B were moved to D, and those in C in some areas remain in C. Why the movement? Why the discrepancies? Why the changes? I mean, why the governor had to come out to join that protest? I'll tell you why. The reason is because Some comedians have been mocking the governor, and not mocking, I don't want to use the word mocking. They've been speaking openly about what is going wrong in the state. Now, remember that if this was 3 years ago, the governor of Edo State, His Excellency, Governor Monday Okpebholo, would have been accusing the former governor, Obaseki, or his administration for having wronged the people. But it's been 3 years now, so there is no way you will call on the former governor, Obaseki, as the major reason for why there has been little or less development in the state. Some people also went on the streets, on the roads. They went to the, they call it the GRA. They went to the GRA, which is the GRA, and they pointed out the roads and said, look at the roads, it's so fine, fantastic. They were, in a way, mocking and laughing because the roads were in a deplorable condition. And they were saying, remember the roads that the governor was walking into the gutter? People were shouting, governor, they walk inside gutter.
Governor, where they enter Poto.
The roads too came up again. People were saying, since the time he walked into the gutter, we'll never see the roads, the beautification, nothing. It has not been commissioned. So where are we going with all of this? The point is, when we narrow everything down, it has to do with leadership and the style of leadership. The governor has been seen granting interviews and saying that he's going to give his life and everything to the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration and ensure that it will grant him 2.5 million votes. And people are wondering, how many people there do we won't give him 2.5 million votes? That's one. Secondly, just to wrap things up with my point, the issue with power is a very complicated one. And I think this is where the presidency should speak, but everyone has all of a sudden remained quiet and mute.
Yeah.
The Minister of Power himself is pursuing his political ambition. And it is so obvious that in pursuant of that political ambition, power in the country is dead. That's one. Secondly, a whole Aso Rock has been removed from the grid, Olive. And Aso Rock is now on solar.
Yeah.
What does that tell us?
So, again, this goes back to the fact that electricity is not a privilege. Electricity should be a basic right for Nigerians, right? It's the barest minimum. We're in 2026. We're not in the Stone Age. Nigerians should be able to access electricity. And it's unfortunate that we're now then making it a situation of who can afford the most to be able to get, right? Electricity should be available to you such that everyone has 24 hours electricity. And then if you're not able to pay your bills, then that's on you. But not that it's not available in the first place. When we heard of Aso Rock going off grid, on the face of it, it looked noble. Oh, we're going green. Everyone is talking about United Nations 17 development goals. And we're talking about the goal 2030. We're looking towards achieving a green economy. Some would say that anointing starts at the head and then flows to the bottom. So Aso Rock is leading by example. But the citizens, unfortunately, are not interpreting it in that way. It's communicated differently to them. The citizens will see this as a situation where the government prioritizes itself because with solar energy, there's guaranteed to be 24 hours power. They won't have to deal with the epileptic supply that citizens have to deal with. In Edo State, on the one hand, it's noble for the governor to come out and protest with the people. We kind of see that happening in Lagos, where during the protest, Governor Sanwo-Olu joined young people to protest. It looks noble on the face of it, right? But the underlying factor, the nobility in his action, will be determined by the action he will take thereafter. Who is he calling? What meetings is he calling? What are his commissioners doing? Whose head is getting, fired as a result of the fact that people are not satisfied by the state of electricity? In saner climes, what you would expect is that if there's a constant protest against the situation of things where people are not pleased, they're not able to afford the basic decencies, the barest minimum, people will be fired. We need to start ensuring that people get fired. It would be great for the president, for the governors to start firing people within their cabinet, so that when you're getting appointed into the position of minister, you know that to whom much is given, much is expected. Well, when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu appointed his cabinet, in the first year, we saw the ministerial review, and it looked very flowery on the face of it. People were applauding, yes, come and show us what you're doing. But has that really yielded much? What do you think
about that review? What did you make?
Exactly. Has that yielded much result? The only thing we can say that we took away from that review was that Better I Do was fired.
Was she really fired?
Well, she was fired because another minister was put in a place. But then what happened of Betta Edo's matter,
Was there a statement
which
that was fired?
should, by the way, which should have been a criminal matter. That matter was no longer investigated. All of a sudden, it feels like back to what people say. Your problems are swept away with the broom once you belong to a certain political party. But not our words. Let's head to X.
The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, and all, she was removed.
Yes.
A few other ministers, I think her and...
there was a bit of reshuffling.
Yeah,
and some new people, Bianca Ojukwu was put in. Some new people were brought in.
But after that,
fold.
what happened?
Exactly. So it's not by giving an illusion of movement. We don't want Nigeria to be a rocking chair that has an illusion of movement, but is actually not moving.
Olive.
Let's get to X.
Before you go to what Nigerians, let me just say it here,
Please say
so
it.
that let it not seem like, as journalists, we are not following these stories. To the Minister of Power, if you cannot do the job, just resign. Let's just say it here. Just resign and focus on the political
That's not how it
ambition.
happens here, Joe.
No, to be honest, let's say it here on national
Joe,
TV.
but that's not how it happens,
Because
unfortunately,
the power
in
sector
Nigeria.
it has tanked, Olive. Companies are complaining. I was with someone 2 days ago. The person was complaining the money he's spending on diesel and fuel. It is too much. Some people are agitated because they paid so much money for Band A. They are not seeing power. It's not working. And then you have a minister who is pushing and pursuing political ambitions. It's not working. We're in a country, not in a business or a company.
Again, Joe, it's not about them resigning. Who is calling them to account? Who is holding them to account? Who put them in office? If I, as a staff of News Central, just suddenly decides that I'm not going to be doing my own quota, I will come to work whenever I like. It's not my responsibility to, or the burden is not on me to voluntarily say, oh, since I'm not delivering, I will just retire. Who put me there? I have employers. My employer should say, okay, you know what, at this point, this person comes to work whenever they like. They don't show up with their best selves. So let's let them go.
I agree. I agree with you. So it behoves on the president to do the right thing, or the presidency to do the right thing. And again, let the president not forget that he made a video. And the video is what Nigerians are holding on to. If I don't give you power,
do not
don't
vote
for me
for a second term.
That's what he said. If I don't. And as it seems, there's no power.
Okay, maybe we have the next 1 year, Joe. Maybe we're jumping into conclusions. We're being too hasty about it. And in the next 1 year, things will be different in Nigeria. I hope. But before we get to that point, Nigerians have been reacting, of course, to that. Let's see what they're saying about Governor Monday Okpebholo heading to the streets. Someone says he's improving. He practiced his script well this time. People should leave this man now. Small mistake. People will take it personal. LOL. Not be light where they the grid go. This goes go distribute. All of them are biolodo. Except there's billions of dollars of investment in private generation and distribution in Edo. BEDC will only distribute what they get from TCN.
Fact.
Temitayo says. Adeboale says, joining protest over electricity. Now that power is off the exclusive list and states can generate their own electricity, shouldn't the focus be on delivering state-level solutions instead of protesting? Adeboale asks. If you ask me now, who I go ask? Next tweet says, I bet he's been reciting that English since weekend. You people should calm down and focus on the matter. Please, kindly don't lose focus. Focus on the matter, all right? That's what we have this morning for our wake-up conversations. Let's see if we have comments on YouTube. We apologize if there's still glitches on the YouTube. It's still being worked on, we do promise. Stanley Amadi says, it's crazy here in Benin. I buy every evening just to keep the food in the fridge refrigerated and charge my power banks ahead of the next day, which with my generator broken down, I need about 100,000 naira to fix it. This is terrible. This is really terrible. If you're in Edo State, let us know how the situation of power is over at your end. You can tweet at us at News Central TV, or you can tweet at Drew and I individually. But let's now share with you our top stories for today on Breakfast Central. Our top stories this morning, we'll be looking at federal government beginning the Executive Order 9 on oil revenue remittance directly to FAC. Calls for mandatory real-time transmission of votes grow. This is regarding the Electoral Act 2026. Igbo elders petition Governor Soludo to halt Onitsha main market demolitions. Justice Soho, Federal High Court judge, to face CCB over undeclared assets. And the newspaper front pages will be a part of today's show. Join us for all these and more.